TBC. It's just me tonight because Jay's obviously busy doing other shit. We're joined by Gareth, who is the proud owner of the brand Cowboys Cry Too apparel. And so thank you very much for coming on, Gareth. I really appreciate your time.
Right.
So how are you doing this fine evening?
I'm all right. I'm actually sat in our loft conversion, which is our workshop. Because we still hand press everything ourselves. My wife and I are the directors, and we are the staff. We are the designers. We are the production team. Everything is just the two of us. And we're getting ready for 2 festivals at the weekend. So we have to press about 900 garments for the weekend. So it's quite a lot. There's quite a lot going on
Yeah,
around. It's just boxes
you
piled high.
both wear a lot.
Yeah, well, basically, we're a startup essentially that's been going for since the end of May. In that time, because of the mental health aspects of the brand, and because of the perceived trend of country music, Yellowstone, all the rest of it, it's just come out. It's come out the box a lot more ferociously than we expected. As I was saying before, we've just done our 5,000th garment in 3 months. So the reception's been incredible. And we travel extensively. My role on a Thursday night, I get in the van and I head to wherever festival we're doing, sometimes 2 festivals in a weekend, come home Monday just to have to reload the van and go back out on the Thursday. And that's what we go everywhere. Literally, the routing, my wife doesn't want me anywhere near the house, I don't think, because she'll send us to Cornwall one day, might be in Norwich the next. The worst one she sent me is Devon on a Thursday and then Aberdeen on a Friday. So it's like we're putting the miles in. A lot of motorway service stations for sleeping. A lot.
Bloody hell, that's the worst one. Devon it's spot on to top.
Well, she did. Devon on the Friday, Aberdeen Saturday, Sunday, and then Devon again on the Monday. I had to.
He just doesn't like you.
And we live in the northwest, so then we had to get back home. Yeah, we've definitely, one weekend we did Blackpool to Norwich to Snowdonia down to Guildford, so we kind of zigzagged across the country. But it's, that's the job. It's ours, so it's there are definitely worse ways to make a living than doing something you love.
Yeah, cool. So what I say, if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life.
Never work a day. Well, apparently that's not entirely accurate, because it definitely is exhausting. It does feel like work sometimes, but it's worthwhile, and I think that's the difference. I was a public servant for 21 years. I was a teacher. I was an assistant head teacher, and it's exhausting to do that and to kind of do your bit to society, which is a lot where we picked up the mental health, but in schools, particularly after COVID. And so to now be coming out and self-employed, there's something quite freeing about that. I do not get the Sunday night blues ever, worrying about what's going to happen Monday morning, because Monday's my day off. So actually Monday is always good.
I suppose my first question is like, how did Cowboys Cry Too? How was it born? What was your life like at that particular stage where you and your wife sat down and was like, you know what, let's make a clothing brand?
Okay, so own a bar in Blackpool called Cowboy & Co, country music bar. We are professional musicians by trade. That's what we do. And we also are part of an apparel, Western wear apparel shop up here that a friend of ours runs. We do a lot of the support and admin support for him. This year, we decided to go to something called WESA, which is like a trade show in Dallas. And it's where you get to see all the kind of manufacturers and their brands, and they show you all the new products, like a giant trade show for cowboys, essentially. And we spent the week, 8 days there, looking at all these things. And I came back and said to my wife, some of that stuff's rubbish. Like, it just, like, the low quality garments, cheaply printed in China, um, just generic lyric slogans, like 9 to 5 or whatever. And I just said, I want to kind of look at this. And we were only really looking at merchandise for the bar at the time. She and I were walking behind somebody one day on the school run, and they had one of those hoodies that says on the back, "Dear person behind me, the world is a better place with you in it." You know the ones I mean, like. And we were like, well, we could tie this together. At the time, my son was going through his autism assessment, mental health, and his confidence was really low. His anxiety was really high. He's only 14. And so we wanted to kind of say to him, it's all right to discuss how you feel. And because he was quite closed off, being a lad of a certain age. And then one day, those coins just all dropped together, that we had this cool idea. Obviously, there's other kind of influential brands like Boys Get Sad Too are out there. But we felt that with the rise of the things that we're into in terms of country music and the expertise we have, the festivals that we're connected to, we would have a really strong foothold in that market should we move forward, especially given that the cowboy is the stereotypical tough guy. And so we kind of pushed it that way. So we started it. We scraped together 55 quid, I think, for our first 5 t-shirts. And we bought a t-shirt press on Klarna and paid it over like 3 months. And we just did it, and they sold really quick. Actually, on one day they sold. So then we started a Shopify website, and with that money from the first t-shirts, I think we did them at about, we got the pricing completely wrong on the first few. We sold them and didn't make very much money on them at all. I think we sold them for about 15 quid each. But then we took that money, put it back in, and then that's what we've done. So this whole thing has kind of come from this acorn. We're now 5,000 garments sold. We now have a team of staff, which is great. We're looking at expanding into other areas. We now get approached, even after the first season that we've done, by huge brands, Coyote Ugly, Brands Hatch, the racing circuit, a few of those where they want the logo featured on their uniforms and that kind of thing to kind of raise that mental health awareness, because it's the biggest killer of men under 35 is suicide. And it's an inordinate figure of people affected by mental health. It's more than 1 in 10. And so when you kind of look at those figures, it's about that awareness, and it's about starting that. So we're really about starting a conversation. There isn't a therapeutic service involved. People will come and chat to us like there is. They'll come and say, this is my experience. There's a lot of empathy there. There's a lot of conversation there, a lot of awareness. But really what we want to do is just start conversations and allow people to feel like they're in a safe place to start a conversation. And that's really worked well. 10% of all our profits go straight to Mind. So we feel like we're contributing towards mental health services in that way. But essentially, it's about just changing the narrative on tough guys who feel that they don't have that. And I think the rise of supportive groups like Andy's Man Club, for instance, really great organization, those kind of things are really kind of drilling down on the fact that actually it's 2025. We aren't our parents' or grandparents' generation in the 50s, post-war, where everyone's got to be really tough and we don't talk about those things. Actually, that strength comes from conversation. It comes from acknowledging your vulnerabilities. And that's kind of where we've arrived today, 5 months in, fully booked for next year, ready to start again.
That's amazing. And me and Jay really want to get some t-shirts, by the way. We've just not got around to it because we think it's awesome. And off the back of that, we actually want to start doing merchandise for this. So I'm taking little tidbits off your answer about what it's about. Do
you know what we learned early on is the biggest thing that people come back to us is they're always surprised at the quality. And it's because in clothing, we've learned you can make loads of money if you have a cheap, crappy product. And if you don't care about it in a month's time, we've had people who bought them in May, April, washed them all out throughout summer, and they've come to gigs that we've been at and they're wearing them and they look brand new because we spend more on the original kind of product, if that makes sense. It took us ages to find a vinyl printer that did high quality DTF that we use. We're moving to screen printing as a process next year, so the quality will be a step higher again. And sometimes that does cost a bit more, but the benefits are that your reputation is better. I think that's so having that. Yeah. And I think people come back on that all the time. We have a particular range, which is the one it's like a traditional tattoo design, and it says you grow through what you go through on the thing. We've deliberately picked a really super soft cotton, as my lad has sensory issues attached to his autism. So actually having a garment that is therapeutic in itself is really important. So honestly, this thing is like wearing a cloud. It's lovely. It's just beautifully soft spun cotton, but it's high quality, and it means that people that have that kind of, we do get people come up to us and say, I really want these, but I can't wear a high neck, or I can't wear something that feels heavy. I've got them covered. They're covered. We look after them. It's not a problem.
My son's got autism as well. Do you have you got a kids range?
Yes, we do have a kids range, actually. We go from 3 now right the way through to 14. And then we find that when they hit 14, they're hitting adult small anyway.
Yeah.
We covered right the way through from 3 years old. 3 to 4 is the smallest we do.
Buzzing. Well, do you have any with like a sort of neurodiversity message on there, or like something of that ilk?
What we tend to do in terms of having that like the neurodiversity message, we've never really pinned it down to saying, right, ASD or autism or ADHD or any of those kind of labels on the person. What we do is more generically. So, for instance, one of our designs says, if you stumble, make it part of your dance. So kind of make a mistake and just kind of style it out, and actually people will join in with you. You grow through what you go through. So it's more about that kind of journey and the narrative rather than specifically. There are brands, I've seen brands out there where I've seen one of the shirts I saw the other day was a lad wearing it. He said, I've got the tism. And it was like, but it was a really strong brand. Obviously it was a brand specifically aiming awareness around autism. But we feel that market is quite well catered for. What we wanted was something a little bit more wider reaching, maybe, that would cover more. Because even though my son is autistic, the anxiety and the low confidence plays a much bigger role in his autism than just the neurodiversity, if that makes sense. So, the panic that he has attached to social etiquette caused by the autism, it's almost like the autism is the symptom, if you like, and the outcome is this panic about, like, getting him into school is practically impossible. It's really hard to get him into school. So he, at the moment, has a placement in a small setting. But the anxiety around even going to school or public spaces that don't have bathrooms or anything like that, whatever it is on that period of time that he is driven by. So we wanted a bit more of a generic kind of message. But we are looking at a few others, and we're working with an artist to do a pin-up series, like the kind of classic pin-up girls. And the artist has endometriosis. So for that range, that's a really hard word to say. For that range, that we'll send that portion of those profits to endometriosis charity. So actually, the scope of being able to do different things for different charitable sectors is actually kind of a cool concept as well, rather than tying it in. There's a charity called the Happy Cowboy in the United States. We're looking at American distribution early next year. So that will become our American charitable partner. And all being well, then we should then be able to see kind of growth on both sides of the Atlantic, I think.
Fingers crossed. That's what they always say, isn't it? Like you break the UK first or whatever it is you're from, and then you try and like break America. So you've already got that on the horizon. That's mad to chase in the early stages of your company, like to have that.
Our goal is to see our shirts saying that message in some of the biggest chains in the States. So Boot Barn, for instance, is a huge chain, 300 stores across the middle of America, boots, hats, that kind of thing. To have this kind of product in amongst that's the goal. That's where we're aiming. We're aiming for something like that, aiming high.
Yeah, you always got to aim high. But I mean, it sounds like you and your family maybe just have this innate sense of like giving back. Is that something that you've sort of always been done? Or is that something that you've been brought up
I
on?
think I was a teacher for a really long time. I was a teacher for 21 years. And I think that anyone who has been a public servant for that amount of time has this built-in guilt, the giving back kind of guilt. They do that, whether it's a teacher, a nurse, a social worker, they've got that kind of built-in kind of, there are easier jobs to do for more money. You do those jobs because you're driven to change, or you're driven to try and provide opportunities for kids who necessarily don't have those opportunities. So when you become self-employed and you're a musician, and 4 months a year my job is on a cruise ship in Mexico, I don't really feel like I'm giving that much back. This has allowed me to feel like I did when I was a teacher, but still be able to have a creative career that gets me out in the summer and gets me meeting loads of people all over. I must have met tens of thousands of people this summer, a huge chunk of them with so many stories to talk about that stigma where they've wanted to talk to someone and felt they couldn't because they're supposed to be tougher than they are, or people rely on them and their families think they're tougher than they are, all that kind of stuff. And actually, our solid message is that toughness comes from that conversation. That's real heart, you know?
Yeah, it does. Allowing someone to see that vulnerable side of you shows how strong you actually are. I think it goes the opposite way. If you try and like hold it all in and pretend to be strong and put on a front, it goes against you because you are inherently weaker by doing that. Because someone pokes you,
Absolutely.
you're gonna burst because you're holding it all in.
You can't, nobody can carry everything for that long. And I think when you are holding other people up as well, you sometimes feel inherently that you've got to be a bit tougher for the sake of other people. You know, especially we've spoken to people who were young carers as kids, or heavily kind of their, you know, single parent families where the older children were leaned on a bit to kind of support. And those kids are now in their mid-20s and coming and saying, actually, my childhood was this, this, and this. And I feel like it's coming out now. And I think that sometimes we kind of think that you have an action that has an almost instant reaction. So, for instance, if I stub my toe, it'll make me cry that in that minute. But with mental health, we're talking about some triggers that might be buried 20, 30 years before that real toll starts to kind of come out. And I think being able to recognize the connections between events that have happened to us, those kind of trauma events in our past, to where we are now, that's really important. And I think that's why having these conversations is so vital.
Yeah, no, it really is, and like you say, it can take years to sort of like when you have that like check back on life moment, and you're like, fuck me, like that happened to me. That was fucking hanging. Why did they treat me like that? And then you sort of realize why you are the way you are when you sort of like people pleasing and things like that, saying yes to everyone when you're knackered and you're putting on a fucking smile when you're really like knackered or like whatever. Like it all everything stems back from what you were sort of like brought up on, and the only way
Absolutely.
to
And it can
sort of
affect your adult relationships. It can affect your work. It can affect how you are with your own kids later. It can affect all kinds of things. So I think for us, there's never an issue where we would ever pretend to be that therapeutic service whatsoever. But we do always, when we're at a festival, we carry information about whatever services are available in that area. It was actually a requirement of one of the festivals that we worked at in Garstang. They said, right, you can come and trade with us, no problem. We like your ethos. We like the fact that 10% of your profits go to charity. That's great. But when you come here, if someone comes to talk to you, we want you to be able to signpost them because one of their crew had taken his own life the year before. And then actually that became part of our practice. So if you meet us now in Cornwall, we will have information on services in Cornwall. If we do that bit of homework. If you meet us I know we were in Chichester last weekend, so we had information, for services available in that area. Now they're simple Google searches, but it might not have occurred to somebody to do that, or they might not have had the strength to go looking for that. Whereas if I can have a conversation and they go, well, actually, do you know this is available in your area? And they go, no, I didn't know that. But they just feel like you're actually listening a bit more because you're paying attention to where they're from. I don't know.
yeah,
I feel like
cool.
sometimes the little things add up to be the big things.
Yeah, and you've taken sort of like 5 minutes out of your day or your wife's day and Googled, right, we're going there, let's get the services available, and then you can just regurgitate
Yeah.
it. Some of them they could
Yeah.
find themselves in 10 seconds, but the fact that you're telling them that they'll be like, oh, well, aren't they nice for checking on the services in my area and shit like that? Shows what you're about, that very like genuineness and authentic like people that you are.
100%.
And that can only bode well when people might hear about your brand or about this T-shirt. Oh yeah, I met them. They're absolutely they're dead down to earth, dead nice.
Happens loads. We do get that a lot when we go to a festival and then we go to another festival in the same sort of area and someone will come in and they'll show us, I've got your shirt. I bought it in Devon or I bought it in Norfolk. And I go, oh, mate, brilliant. Hey, do you want another one? But they usually do, to be fair. And the nice thing about our gear is that we've got at least two people that I know of. Well, one who's gone that next bit and he's had a tattoo. This customer came in and he showed us the logo, the skull logo with Cowboys Cry Too, and he'd had it tattooed on his shoulder. But another two guys, they collect them like they're a series, because had the original 5 designs, we dropped another 8 new designs, and then they've kind of systematically been picking them up as over the months. So they'll email us and go, "When's the next drop?" Well, the next one we're doing is around Halloween. And that's kind of our autumn range. So they're going, "Can we see it? Can we see it?" And they love it. It's great. And actually having that little collectability about it, I think is really cool as well. Like, just as a nerd who used to collect things like Star Wars toys when I was, you know what I mean? Just making it, I don't know, that it's wanted, that it's kind of desirable. I think that for me is brilliant, on top of the message that actually it's a product that people like. That's really cool as well, you know?
Yeah, having that positive reinforcement about it, and you're making it sort of accessible. You know, like responding to the emails, stuff going like it's coming in autumn, like you.
We
A lot of
respond
the
to
times,
everything.
yeah. A lot of the times you go through customer service, then up and up and up and up and up. Whereas you're them all, your customer service all the way to bloody manufacturer or
Yeah.
whatever. But no,
No, we
what is it
get
before?
to everything. We actually made the slight error of leaving my mobile phone on the website. So quite often I'll get texts going, "When's my order come in?" And I'll go, "Who's got my number?" Like, but I'll reply, and we always go that little bit. We try and make it. So, I mean, there's only 2 of us. So we do make some mistakes. Sometimes we'll send the wrong thing out, whatever, but we always fix it and we always make it human. And a lot of the comments that we've had when people go, "Right, I ordered this 4 days ago. Why is it not here?" And I'll reply and go, "Well, actually, listen, we're not a warehouse. We're not this massive factory. There's 2 people here trying to start conversations and have this message. We make everything by hand. Everything is made by us when you order it. Sometimes waiting 7 to 10 days isn't the end of the world for that." And then the minute I do that, they go, "That's great. I didn't realize it was made for me. I thought it was just picked out of off a factory shelf." And it isn't. And I think people quite like the fact that that care goes into it. So when you order it, it arrives with a handwritten card that says, "Thanks for this," by name, "Dear Mark, thanks for buying you this. I hope you love it. Wear it. Tag us in photos when you're out. Chuck some stickers in the bag," or whatever. And then people feel like they've kind of been reached directly, rather than just generically something slung in an ASOS bag and chucked out into the post. So I want people to
Part of
feel like
something,
that.
yeah, part of something
Yeah.
like a bit bigger for themselves, really. But you know what you said before, you're 4 months on a cruise ship in
Yeah.
Mexico. Like we skimmed over that, but I really want to know what is that? Is this the music stuff that you do on a cruise ship?
Yeah, I'm a guitar player for a company called Carnival Cruise Line. So in November, I'll go to Galveston, Texas, and join my ship there. And then I'll sail for 4 months, come home early March, and then we start again here. So basically, country music guitar player. Just kind of that's kind of my main job. I've got a fair idea, though, within a year or two, this will become the main. This will be the main. There's no way, like, to keep it going the way it's going, it'll have to become the main job, I think.
How did you get into becoming like a cruise ship?
Um, so I've been a professional guitar player since I was 15, so like really long time. And in 2018-ish, 2017, we did an audition for Carnival, and we did a couple of years of cruises there. And then I moved up to Blackpool when I got married, and you can be a musician. You can do really well as a musician in the Northwest during the spring, the summer, and the autumn. But the minute that winter stops, a lot of the hotels close. So usually they'll open for New Year's Eve. At New Year's Day, they'll close until mid-February. Well, that means that work dries up for me entirely. But my mortgage carries on. My kids still need to be clothed and fed, and life carries on. So the compromise we have is that I pick up those contracts now. So me and my duo partner Ben, we go. My wife is a musician herself, so she is quite understanding of it and recognizes the need to feed the kids. So she's really understanding, because there's not a lot of families, I suppose, would be able to take that pressure of the partner going away for 4 months, let alone going away to the Caribbean for 4 months. But she's always been really supportive of that. And she knows, like, we work so well together on this. she knows that actually I'm going to work, bring the money back, and then we start again. It's just a job like any other job at the end of the day. But I definitely think she would prefer I was working in like Poland or somewhere cold, you know, and not
Yeah,
and
on
not
a cruise ship.
Jamaica.
Does it go
Yeah.
all around, or does it go from like Las Vegas to Mexico, and then is that a 4 month journey?
Well, go from Texas, so the southern part of Texas. There's a little island called Galveston, which is where the U.S. Navy's based, and that's into the Gulf of Mexico, which Trump wants to call the Gulf of America. It's that part there. So my ship does 8 days, 8-day loop, and it does Jamaica, Honduras, Mexico, and somewhere else, and it does a little loop, and then it does a 6-day loop after that. So it's 8-6, 8-6, 8-6, and then that's life for 4 months, and then come home.
Is there like I don't know, a party element to that, where you can let your hair down a bit, or is it just pure
I
work?
mean, I think the very essence of it being a musician, especially a country musician in Texas, like it is all the job is the party. There's nothing I like more than when that's finished, the silence that comes afterwards. It's great when you've been playing, because we work 6 hours a night. So you're singing and playing guitar 6 hours a night. It's a lot of noise, but there's something really nice. Even now when we're gigging, you get in the van, that silent bit is just, it's really welcome. So, I mean, to be fair, those ships, they do have a great social life. You kind of have to. You're bonded by the fact that you're all at sea for 6 months. But for me, it's a job, but it's a job like any other job. Just kind of treat it like that. Well, no, no all I can say is that my last duo partner and I are now married and have a daughter. So that's as wild as that got.
No way.
Yeah, yeah. So Jess and I, we were duo partners on the ship, and yeah, and now we have a daughter and a son, and they and that's the hardest part of this, is that whilst the job on the surface is great, like it's well paid, it's really social, there's an isolated aspect to being away from your family for so long, and like you say, you're a dad, you get this. My son was a year old 2 days ago. So I'm going to miss these chunky milestones that are likely to be his first words. Little bugger's not walking yet, so I know he's going to do that the day after I leave. So it's things like that I'm already aware. Like I can feel this pull of what I'm going to miss. But my role to kind of keep the mortgage going, it's a bigger picture for them, as to keep their house and their family together. But there is always that pull of home. And especially having young children as well, that's hard, because you have to kind of explain. My daughter's 6, so I've had to kind of explain what I'm doing and how long I'm going to be doing it. But I know in my head she's got no concept of time whatsoever, because she's 6. So I know there's going to become a point, and it's over Christmas and it's over New Year, and I'm missing both of their birthdays. So it's like, it's hard, but it's a job, and you just got to get through. And once we get through the winter, we're straight back into festivals literally 2 weeks later. So I don't think we'll have time to worry about it.
No, I suppose, and like you say, that you'll always have that pull of home, because you're a good parent. You don't want to miss out on these little steps. But you know what you were saying before about like societal norms and how it's changing. Like I think what you're taking there is like a good old school value, because there's some that are absolutely horrible about men shouldn't cry, men shouldn't open up, and all that. But
Yeah.
you're taking a sort of tidbit from the past and being like, no, like as the father and husband and stuff, like it's my job to make sure that mortgage is paid. It's my duty as like I don't know, man
Yeah.
of the family and stuff like that. So that's
It
an
does.
old
It
school
definitely.
value that people can lead into, I think.
Yeah. I think it doesn't, for me, the gender aspect of it, mother, father, it's not important. What it is for me is making sure I lead a life that is as full of example to, I've got 4 kids. I have 3 sons and 1 daughter. So I want to raise good men, and I see the same socials that you see. I see horrible men raising horrible men. And that is this real spin. And actually, that's not okay. It's not okay it'll never be okay for my daughter to walk through a car park late at night when she's old enough to, and feel unsafe because a man was raised badly. And that, for me, like, when I grew up, it was actually my parents worked 2 jobs each to try and keep everything going. So my gran did a lot of the raising of me and my brother, and there were a few clipped ears and but there was a lot of little simple things like if we were walking down the road, the man, or in my case, the 10-year-old boy I was, should walk on the roadside to protect. It wasn't until I was older that I thought it was always about man protecting the woman and being the big tough guy. And I realized it's not. It's just about a good person protecting anybody else that's in their family on that side of it. And actually those kind of gender strengths are irrelevant in my house because I'm raising a 6-year-old daughter who is the most graceful, intelligent, independent woman I could possibly be, but cross her and she will burn down your house. And that's the kind of daughter I want to raise, you know? I want to raise a warrior who has thought and compassion, and that compassion and kindness are the two highest traits that I want to leave these kids with. In that, not walking past others, you know, a previous line manager at an old job said to me once, and he was talking about the context of kids' behavior in schools. And he said to me, the standard you walk past and ignore is the standard that you'll accept. And I realized that wasn't, I mean, he was using it in if a kid's naughty and you ignore it, you expect that you're accepting that kids can be naughty in school. But actually, it's everything. It's social care. It's walking past the homeless, or, people in real need. It's these things that we're seeing at the moment with immigration and I'm not going to get all political about it, but the loss of the humanity, and we are accepting that that's okay. And it's not. Actually, it's not okay. Compassion and kindness need to be at the square root of it, because you never know what's going to happen in your life that you're not going to need somebody to be compassionate and kind towards you. We all think we've got a path. It doesn't take much for that path to fall apart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So don't be a dick now. I think that's just the general, don't be a dick is the slogan. That's going to be the new Cowboys Cry Too t-shirt. It's just going to say, don't be a dick.
I think that'd be the
But
best
that's
seller.
the message. Yeah, I think so. But that's the message, as a father, as somebody who I will sacrifice things that are important to me because I want them to have something. But I don't think necessarily it's a traditional gender role that's pushing me to do it. It's because I want them to know that sacrificing themselves for things they care about, people they care about, is okay. Making sure that everybody else is okay. I want that. So if I died tomorrow, then I know my children will go on to be kind, compassionate adults that will allow women to walk through car parks in the dark, or they never. I know for a fact that my son's woman or man is ever going to feel threatened or intimidated. I want them to be nothing but welcoming and warm. Do you know what I mean? Protective, and I think that's the values that we've started to lose a little bit. I think. We blame crime on a lot of things, but actually, at the end of the day, sometimes we can just blame men for not being good men, and that's what it comes down to. I think that's why our brand is so important, that these values are recognized, and they are a bit old-fashioned, and I'm not going to apologize for that.
No, I don't think that's a thing to apologize for. I think there's some things from the past that are sort of like still valuable, and compassion and kindness are going to be from our great grandfathers and mothers all the way to the next 14, 15
Yeah,
million generations afterwards. I really like what you said before about leaving as many examples as you can for your children to, because what they do,
yeah,
they don't watch, they watch what you do, and what you say to them or whatever is pretty irrelevant. It's how they watch and absorb how you react to situations, how you interact with
100%.
people. And I was in the car the other day with my daughter. My daughter's 4, so you've got 2 years of bonding ahead of me, and it's
Yeah,
unbelievable. And I let a person out in the car in front of me, and they didn't say thank you. So I was like, "Well, that was a bit rude, wasn't it?" And she was like, "What, Daddy? What was rude?" I said, I let that young lady go in the car first, and she didn't say thank you to Daddy, and that's very rude." And she was like, "I can't believe she didn't say thank you." And I was like, "I
yeah,
know." And it was like a little good, funny little moment between us. But if she's 4 and she knows that if someone does a kind gesture to you or something nice, the appropriate and only response should be to say thank you. Like
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't lift a finger if she doesn't say please or thank you.
Yeah,
You know what I
100%.
mean? But I do
Yeah,
the same. If I'm asking someone for something like my dad or my friend Jay, I'll be like, "Can you pass that, please?" And it's the example. And if I don't do it, then why am I sort of making them?
100%. Yeah, I totally agree with that. One of the things I saw the most as a teacher was the amount of kids, when there was a fight, would get their phones out and film it, and then they'd post it wherever. Vile. I couldn't stand it. Even though, to be fair, it helped me solve a lot of stuff because I had the videos. I know for a fact my kids will never be the ones that do that. They'll be the ones that reach a hand down and pull somebody back up. And I think that's something that was really drilled into me as a kid. And I think that's got to be a lasting message. And it all comes down, like I said, compassion and kindness, and understanding that kindness isn't a weakness. And people will take advantage of kindness, but you hold the line. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be kind just because some people take advantage of it,
Because I don't know. I don't know if you're a believer in like karma or anything like that, or the universe balancing itself out. Like if you're a kind person,
Universe always
like,
sorts itself out.
but yeah, I think it's a quote from Harold and Kumar, and it says, "The universe will always unfold as it should." So if you're out there thinking that you're being taken advantage of for being a nice person, like you're gonna get it back in spades. Like you really
Yeah.
are, and that's not sort of
Equally,
what you what. Sorry.
yeah, and equally, if you're taking advantage, you'll get what's coming.
Yeah, but that might be something as simple as like your fucking car won't start, or you got with a cupboard and you ran out of bread. Like that kind of little shit where you're like, nah, you was a prick last week, so
Yeah, a
I'm
little
not gonna
lesson,
remind you to go and get a loaf. So you're gonna have
like
to
a little
suffer when you
warning.
have yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a
Yeah,
little
exactly.
life warning. The running out of bread comes just before the lightning strike. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
you carry on, it's going to get worse.
Yeah, it's like an amber, a warning light, and then the next one's gonna be red, and you're gonna get taken the fuck
That's
out.
it. Yeah, like Final Destination.
Yeah, but that there's about 10 of them now, aren't there? They've
Yeah,
set the first now. It's same with Fast and Furious, isn't it? Like how much can we watch cars go past?
yeah. First one was great. I did enjoy the first one.
I think mine was Tokyo Drift, and then I lost interest after that.
Yeah.
I think that was a guy from Texas on it. To be fair, it was like I drift.
Yeah, probably. We do love Texas. And I think Texas is a big inspiration in that things like our designs and stuff. We've got a desert one. We've actually called it Arizona, which is nowhere near Texas, but we couldn't think of a fitting enough dry desert kind of Texan kind of landscape. But a lot of the designs are inspired by that kind of landscape coming down from Houston into kind of Fort Worth that way, where it is very dry and very sort of sandy, like, like in the Westerns, it does look a lot like that. A lot of the stuff we're putting out at the moment is quite inspired by that and sort of trad style tattooing, that kind of thing. That's where we're kind of pushing it towards. It's a little bit edgier than our original designs. I quite like it.
Is that where a lot of the inspiration comes? And are you not really like asked about like keeping up with fashion per se? Is it more of
No.
just what you're passionate about, you believe in?
No, I'm not worried about that at all. I'm quite into sort of trad style tattoos. I've got quite a few of them myself, and we wanted to kind of have that old school tattoo style built into our brand because it's just something we both kind of like the aesthetic appeal of. What we have found is that we were the kids at school that people took the piss out of for liking cowboy music. It's all come round now, and now we've got what we call plastic
Yeah.
cowboys when we see them, and they've been to Primark and they've got their boots and their hat, and they're all into Morgan Wallen or Luke Combs because that's the only two acts they've ever heard of, and they kind of have that vibe going. Or Beyonce, God help us all. And then they do this thing where and you just like, but the thing is, there's a lot of country music fans are quite elitist, and they're like, well, if you don't know this song from 1954 on this B-side from Suns, you're like, I'm very much live and let live. If you want to listen to that or you want to wear that, you do you. I don't care. You do you. But what I do want is to put our brand into a bit of a heritage, so it's got some credibility and it's authentic. We did come unstuck on one design, which was a clown. We've taken it off the website now. It was a clown, a girl. It was called Jolie, and She was crying and she had the cowboy hat on. And it said, fearlessly authentic, bravely you, which is our kind of tagline across like an arch across her. What we didn't realize is that when we were talking about what we wanted, we used a couple of different local artists to listen to the brain fart that comes out of us and then turn it into what we've got in our heads. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
And this one, she nailed it. It was exactly what we were thinking. And then I bumped into we were selling them in Cambridge maybe, or St Albans, somewhere south. And we bumped into a tattoo artist and she was like, I really like this one, but she paid loads of attention to it. And I was going, okay. Anyway, 2 weeks later, we had an email from an American tattoo artist based in Los Angeles. And basically this girl had recognized the image and had let this American tattoo artist know that we'd copied this image. Now, completely unbeknownst to us, because when we do a design and we kind of sit with the roots of it, we trust the designer to go off and make that happen. She came back with exactly what we described we wanted. But what we didn't realize is she'd accidentally lifted the best part of it from this tattoo artist's Pinterest. So essentially, we were flogging this girl's design. Obviously, we pulled it down straight away. We apologized. We had no idea. But what it did make us do was suddenly have this due diligence. So now we work with a couple of artists who we get to document their progress. They save various versions of the design. So we can see that progress. We can prove the intellectual property belongs to us. We can prove that the original thought belongs to us. So I had this photograph sent to me from a lad who went to Download Festival. I'm not going to name the company yet because it'll go completely sideways if I do. But they sent us a design that had something similar to Cowboys Cry Too across there. It was about cowboys being in a club that was quite lonely or something like that. And they'd used the skull logo that we've got with Cowboys Cry Too in the hat band. That's kind of our thing. Now, that hat band where it's written is in our artist's own handwriting. So it's literally just her handwriting. And we've always kept it the same because we quite like it. It fits the brand. It fits the aesthetic that we're looking for. But it's her writing. What they'd done is they'd inserted that. They'd changed the skull a little bit, but they'd left her handwriting in the hat, right? And so I now know what it feels like to be on the side where we accidentally took somebody's work and the side where someone has taken our work. So we're really careful about making sure we document those processes. And we work with one brilliant artist called Jess Winter, who's done a lot of our new designs that just like the dancing skeleton with the when you stumble, make it part of the dance. And the Arizona ones, some of those. And she's so perceptive that we now don't really have to get into backwards and forwards, maybe a couple of corrections. That's it. She gets us now. We kind of have a theme going, but I think it's taken us some hard lessons there. I think we've learned more lessons in 4 months than a lot of these kind of companies will learn in 6 years, 7 years, because there's only two of us and we do everything. We have to be aware of everything all the time. Does that make sense? So we've learned some lessons along the way. So what you're going to start seeing now is there's more design. I think we've got another 8 drop in late September, kind of the autumn sort of range. The only thing I'd say that we follow in terms of fashion and kind of doing that is that we work really closely behind a company called Yeti. And Yeti do coolers. They are a hunting, fishing brand, American brand, but they're an outdoor brand. They kind of do the coolers and the flasks and all that kind of stuff, but they make them kind of cool, trendy colors. But what we'll do is watch their color range because they are appealing directly to the demographic that we want. The design and stuff is irrelevant because they just have their name across. It's just block capitals. But in terms of palettes, we allow that to influence maybe that we're heading towards autumn. When they go into their oranges and yellows and browns, we might kind of lean into that a bit because the people that love their products are the people that we're looking to sell ours to. So they're kind of complementary, if that makes sense, in terms of colors rather than influenced by themes or images, you know?
Yeah, no, it's smart, isn't it? Like it's like they've got your demographic, like sort of like lean into what colour in there and
Yeah.
everything. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and we'll always be on the back foot for it because they go, obviously, they're a massive company and they're dropping it and then we see it. So they've just gone into a hunting and fishing range. It's all camo. It's all like really cool. So we were talking about the other day that at least 2 of our next designs need to be fishing themed. Fishing's huge, much bigger in the UK than I thought it was, to be fair. And actually a much younger demographic than traditionally it might have been before. Competition fishing particularly, but where we live, sea fishing. So that idea about sea fishing particularly, I mean, I don't like the idea of fishing for sport. I don't like the idea of grabbing out this animal who's just happily swimming around. You got to lob it back after you take the hook out. It's horrible.
It's a bit
But the
tight, isn't it?
sustainability of fishing for your dinner and then having that kind of cyclic kind of cycle of where your food comes from, and like we're doing a lot of that at the moment, educating my children around where food comes from. So having that as part of our brand, I quite like that wholesome cycle thing as well. And I think moving towards something like that. The hunting one that we've got on the idea is kind of twisted in that it's all fun and games until you're the lunch. So it's about just having a bad day, but the bear is essentially chasing the hunter. I think that feels comfortable that way around, you know? But it's really easy to come up with ideas that lose sight of the brand because you get carried away in, well, wouldn't it be cool if we took our dancing skeleton in this situation or that? And actually, you sometimes have to really, well, my wife is very good at slapping me back into a corner and going, that's not the brand. That's not the brand. And really focusing in on the essence of what we want it to be. So I think that's probably credit to her. I won't say that to her, but she's probably listening downstairs. If you're listening, well done. She's not listening.
That's mint, honestly. I think it's awesome what you guys are doing. I'm going to get me a J t-shirt for damn sure. Could you tell people finally just what your website is, and then obviously where they could find you and all that stuff?
Yeah, so we're at www.CowboysCryToo.com. I'm going to tell you, we're at every festival in every town next year that I can even imagine. We're already booked 2 festivals per week between May and October. So regionally this year, I don't think there's a part of the UK that we haven't been in. But what we like to do is publish those. As soon as we have them, we publish our diary for the whole of the season so that people go, right, I'm going to come here. What also happens loads for us is that we'll visit a town. Like last week, we were at Chichester. This week, all our online orders have come from that area where people kind of caught it but didn't want to get involved on the day. They've gone back, looked us up and gone, actually, yeah, should have got that. And that's quite nice as well. So it's good. Really good. Really happy with it. Thank you. Speak soon. Thanks. Bye.
Guys,